Hi.
How you doing?
All right. I thought I'd join early just in case that you needed me, but.
Oh, thanks. So Tiffany made me set up like a nice plain background.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I had myself that way facing that wall, and then I explained my post-it notes.
Right.
But it's quite nice. Oh, you're recording at the moment, but you can pause that.
Oh, yeah,
recording if you
resume recording. And participants, how do I mute them all? Oh yeah, mute all. Okay, cool. You can unmute yourself if you want to say something. So I will be asking for, participation. And if you have questions, just unmute yourself and kind of wave and I'll try and deal with them. And there'll be spots when we can do questions. Anyway, so let me share my screen again. So, cool, you can see it all. Hi guys, well I'm Jessie Healy and I'm the founder of WEBTOPIA, which is a digital marketing agency specializing in Facebook, Instagram and Google advertising. But my background is that I've worked in digital media since I landed in London in 2005, the same year as Claire, a very long time ago now. And I've worked across all different sectors, different industries. And so I have a really good broad background in kind of all of the digital marketing channels that are available and how they sort of all work, which is where the idea came from for this course, because I'm in the startup club on Fridays with some of the other New Zealand Business Women's Network people. And we were asking about what kind of course would, what kind of masterclass would be interesting. And there's a lot of people saying they're just kind of overwhelmed and confused by all the different options that are out there. Why is that making a funny noise? So just a little bit about my agency. We've been around for a couple of years and we specialize mostly in the female-centric direct-to-consumer e-commerce space. So if any of you run businesses like that, I'd love to chat and get to know you better. I also have a Facebook group and I'll link to that after the at the end of the session, where you can come and learn for free. There's some free trainings in there. You can ask questions about Facebook ads, and I just try and create a real community around learning about this kind of stuff because I love teaching it. So before we get started, can you guys put your hands up who represents a product business? So you're selling a physical product. Do you want to just wave your hands in the air so I know? Interesting. So we've got 2 here, and then some other people like Anna may be representing product businesses occasionally and wanting to know a bit about product business marketing. Okay. And then how many people are very much in service-based businesses? Okay. Yeah. The rest of you mostly. And anyone in those kind of in-between spaces, which is like SaaS, software as a service, or maybe travel, which is kind of somewhere in between. I think there was someone from the travel sector. Yeah. Okay. Good to know. Right. So we'll just skip past this one. So what I'm going to do is, when I was thinking about this, putting this together, at first I thought, well, I'll go through each platform, I'll explain how they all work, and I'll explain all the different ad types that are available in each platform. But actually, I think that would get everyone quite bogged down in the detail, and would it really help you to kind of decide which platform was best for your business? So instead, I've kind of flipped it around, and what I've done is I've divided this presentation into two parts. First of all, we'll talk about product businesses and the types of advertising platforms and funnels that suit product businesses. Because we've got fewer people on the call who represent product businesses, I'll move quite fast through this section, and then we'll move on to the second section, which will be on service businesses and the types of funnels, and then the types of channels that are most appropriate to service businesses. But I think the really important thing to bear in mind when you're thinking about setting up a digital advertising campaign is, first of all, you need to decide what the strategy is. The channel that you decide to go on, that's really just a tactic, right? What you want to figure out is like, what is my message? What is the best way to reach people? How are they going to behave? Where do I want them to go? What's the journey I want them to go on? What's the value I'm going to give them up front in order to kind of build a relationship with them? You map that out first, figure out the kind of simplest way to create that funnel. And then you decide, okay, where's the best place to advertise this? And usually you'll start with some of the more obvious platforms, which you will all know, but I'll tell you which ones they are and which ones I think you should start with first. And then once you've cracked one, you can then go and replicate that funnel on other channels and see whether it works better or worse on those other channels, see if you can get the same results or better results. So it's not so much about LinkedIn is best for this type of business or Facebook is best for this type of business. It's actually more about like figuring out that strategy for your particular funnel for your business, and then placing that on the various channels and testing them out. But what was I going to say? But before we even get started with that, one of the things I want to remind you, and I think it's really worth understanding about digital advertising, is this fact. 99% of people who visit your website won't do anything. They won't buy anything from you. They won't pick up the phone and ring you. They won't fill in your form. They won't sign up for your email for the most part, and that's kind of an average across all sectors and industries. For the most part, most people will have a look and then they'll go away. So it's worth knowing that when you set up your campaigns, because you're going to have to do a lot to get people to actually take any kind of action. And that's why nowadays most marketing funnels that we run on the internet involve trying to get people to take some small action first, probably not a purchase initially, or probably not signing up to pay you £10,000 for your fantastic, amazing service. It's a bit like Claire was saying to me the other day, the analogy of dating, right? So if you're on a dating app and a guy just reaches out straight away to you and says, will you marry me? You're not going to do it. You're going to have a conversation first, then maybe you're going to go for a drink, then maybe you're going to go for dinner, then you're maybe going to introduce them to your family. So there's a whole lot of things that have to happen first. So if you go to these platforms and try and get married straight away to people, it's just not going to work, and you're not going to get people converting. So it's worth kind of bearing that in mind when you're designing the best funnel for your business. So let's dive in and have a look at a couple of examples of the types of funnels that work for these different types of businesses. So starting off with product businesses. This is the typical funnel that you run for a product business. You would start with an ad that talks about your product. Then you would drive people from that ad to a product page. So this is an example of Dollar Shave Club, a very famous kind of product-based business brand that's done really well with using Facebook ads to drive people to their site and then convert them. And then nowadays, because of that 99% of people aren't going to convert on that first visit, you have the product page, and then after someone leaves the product page, they then get targeted with retargeting ads. And then those retargeting ads will be driving people back to the website, where they will then hopefully convert maybe on the second visit. So that's a really standard funnel that you would use for a product business. You would go from the ad to the product page. So you're not going to the home page, you're going to the product page, and then you're retargeting people with ads. And then there's a whole lot of stuff that obviously goes into like who you're targeting with the ad and how you set it all up, which we probably won't have time for in this session. And also because most of you guys aren't product businesses, we probably won't go into it too much. However, I did want to talk about the different channels that work for product businesses and why. So the best digital advertising channels for product businesses are these ones here. You should recognize all of these logos. So I've got on the one side, we've got the Google search ads and Google shopping ads. And then on the other side, we've got all of the social networks. So these are all proven advertising channels that work fantastically for product businesses. Now, not all of them will necessarily work for your product business. For instance, Snapchat tends to kind of trend a little bit younger. Pinterest is a little bit more female. YouTube depends on the type of product that you're offering. It may or may not be the right fit for you. But broadly, these are the channels that you would try if you were advertising your product business online. So just talking about a couple of these quickly. So the Google platform for advertising works really well for what we call demand capture. So what I mean by demand capture is there's no point advertising on Google unless someone is actually coming to Google and looking for products that you offer, right? So if you're selling a brand new category of product that no one's ever heard of and are not going to wake up in the morning and think about searching for, there's no point putting ads on Google. Google works great. Google and Google Shopping work great for product categories that already exist, where people are already looking. So you might have invented a product that solves a problem. If that is a problem that people are going to Google to look for, then great, you can advertise on Google. You can capture that demand that already exists. And the metaphor to think about with Google advertising is think of it like the yellow pages. So the yellow pages, it's no good having an ad in the yellow pages unless you have a service that someone is going to go and look for in the yellow pages. A plumber, someone's looking for a hairdresser. Those kind of businesses work great with Google because the demand is already there. Lawyers, insurance, all of these things. People are going to Google to look for these things all the time. The category already exists. I work in my business with a lot of businesses who have products that are new to the category. They're something that someone hasn't necessarily thought of. So I have a client who they have invented these really cool children's books that help kids to learn languages. We're testing out a little bit of Google advertising for them, for those people that are looking for books to teach my child French. But actually, their product works so much better on these social network channels because it's not like you necessarily wake up and think, oh my gosh, today I'm going to make sure I teach my child French. But when you're presented with this really cute little book that has cool characters and it's a great way, easy way to teach your child French, then suddenly you're like, well, actually, why wouldn't I do that? So the social networks are much better for advertising. The metaphor for social networks is a bit more like an infomercial where you are presenting people the idea of a product that they didn't even know they needed. And by the time they've watched the ad, suddenly they feel like, oh my God, I've just got to have it. So I would call like these advertising platforms as a bit like the modern day infomercial. Now, how do they work? These kind of 5 networks or platforms, I guess you would call them, all work pretty much the same in terms of the mechanism of advertising on them. So you can target people based on interests. So what they're interested in, what they're talking about in the channel, what kind of topics they're following, famous people that they're following, brands they're following, those kind of things. Demographics, to the extent that the platform has that demographic information, you can target people based on demographics. Things like job titles, things like age, gender, marital status, that kind of thing, whether they've got children or not. So there's a lot of detail that you can go into for these platforms in terms of being able to select the audiences that you want to go after. The platforms that have the most data, no prizes for guessing, Facebook and Instagram. So Instagram is owned by Facebook. So when we talk about advertising on Facebook, we generally mean Facebook and Instagram. And when you set up your ads on Facebook and Instagram, you can set them to run across both platforms, and that includes Instagram stories as well. So I would advise any product-based business, unless there's a really strong reason why your product is just such a great fit for Pinterest that you want to start with Pinterest or YouTube or Snapchat, I would advise product-based businesses to advertise first of all on Instagram and Facebook at the same time, and really work on optimizing for that channel, get the data, benchmark how well it performs. And then if you're looking for new channels to expand to, or you want to decrease your reliance on one channel, then you could go out to other channels like maybe Pinterest, maybe YouTube, Snapchat, whichever one's the most suitable for you. TikTok is another one that you could consider. But again, most startups, most, e-commerce businesses that are doing well now will start with Facebook and Instagram because it's the most powerful platform. It's got the best data on users. It's got the best optimization, and it's the best platform at figuring out who's going to buy your products from you. All of these networks have what's called pixel-based optimization. So you set a goal within your campaign, and in the case of a product campaign, you're going to optimize for purchase, right? That's the thing you want to happen. So you're going to tell, when you set up the campaign, you're going to set it up so that it optimizes for purchase. And what that means is you're telling the algorithm, look at people who've purchased on my site in the past and find me more people that look like they're going to purchase from me in the future because they resemble the people that have bought from me in the past, or they're exhibiting behaviors that are similar to people who would have bought from me before. And all of these networks have a ton of information about what people are doing online, what they're shopping for. You guys might have noticed when you start shopping for a fridge, Facebook might start showing you ads for fridges from completely different sites that you haven't even visited, because Facebook's observed that behavior that you're looking at fridges. It knows you're currently in the market for a fridge, so it's going to blast you with ads for fridges. So it's really clever in that way. And the pixel-based optimization, the algorithm is what's doing that. So when you set up the campaign, you're giving it quite a bit of information about the demographics or the type of person you want to target. For the most part, it's this pixel-based optimization that's doing all of the heavy lifting of figuring out who to target. So that is the section on product-based advertising. Does anyone have any questions on what I've just covered so far, or want to comment on that or say anything in particular? No.
Pip had a question in the chat, which is why not also Twitter?
Oh yeah, Twitter. So Twitter is a funny one. I've never, probably just an oversight on my part to not have that one added in there. I am an e-commerce advertising specialist, and I've never heard of Twitter being very good for that. Although the word on the street is the platform is getting better at optimizing for purchase. But it seems that the behavior of people going to Twitter is that they aren't in that sort of shopping frame of mind. They're in an information sharing kind of, I don't know, maybe kind of like looking for a diversion kind of frame of mind, but they're not in like a product searching sort of window shopping frame of mind. Whereas it's my belief that Facebook and Instagram have deliberately set up a platform that puts people in the mode of like product purchasing behavior, consideration behavior, because they've kind of trained us to act like that on the platform. Sounds scary, but I guess the benefit of it is that like lovely small businesses that I work with all get to reach customers that they would have never been able to reach 5 or 10 years ago because this platform is so smart. Cool. Any other questions? No? Cool. Okay. So that is product-based digital advertising. So on to service-based businesses. So how are we doing for time? 25 minutes. Cool. So there's quite a few different types of funnels that you can use for service-based businesses, and you probably would have fallen into these kind of funnels quite a bit yourselves, depending on how much you engage on Facebook or on LinkedIn or on other places that you frequent on the internet with these types of funnels. But the sort of main types of funnels that you see for service-based businesses, and this applies to kind of coaching and coaching and courses as well, definitely, but also professional services, IT services, lawyers, consultants, definitely. Agencies definitely use these types of funnels. So the main ones are a webinar funnel. So that's where you're offering to do a webinar like I am today. So the business would advertise the webinar. People would sign up for the webinar and give their email address, and then the webinar would be delivered, and then after the webinar there might be some kind of upsell that happens, or emails sent afterwards, or the offer to book a meeting with the service provider. So the webinar funnel is a really, really common one and a really effective funnel to use. So the funnel, I'll show you an example of that funnel in a second. Video series is another. So you might get people to opt in to watch, so they get sent to a landing page, opt in to watch a video, and then maybe get sent another ad that gets them to opt in to watch another video. And then at the end of having watched those videos, they're then sent a series of emails or ads trying to sell them the next kind of step up. Lead magnet is a really typical funnel that you would have seen a lot of. We see a lot of these on LinkedIn. They come up a lot on Facebook as well. And that is where you're sending people to a page which asks for their contact details in exchange for a piece of information, a downloadable piece of content, a PDF, a report, that kind of thing, that is really valuable to your target audience. And then once the person has downloaded that lead magnet, they're in your funnel, and you're able to follow them up with email, follow them up with additional ads, introduce yourself in other ways. And then another one that's a little bit more of a direct funnel is a kind of what I would call like a call funnel, which is where you're going from an ad directly to a page where someone can book a meeting or book a call with you. And I'll talk a little bit about how those work in just a second. So a typical nurture funnel example, this is Amy Porterfield, who is a sort of influencer in the digital marketing space in the US. She's got quite a bit of presence here as well. So this is a typical funnel that she's using. So she starts with an ad here. She's kind of presenting her personal brand. The ad is all about this value that she's offering. She's not trying to sell anything. So she's offering a mini course and a step-by-step path to finally start to grow your email list. So you go from the ad to the landing page, where you click on a button, and from that button you then get sent to the mini training that she offers, which is, I guess, a video series. And then from there you're on her email list, and she's going to start sending you emails, and those emails might be either prompting you to buy something from her or prompting you to explore further content that she has. So she has a podcast, a Facebook group. She has other kind of video series that she offers, training courses that she offers. Ultimately, what she's trying to sell is a training course that she does once a year, I think, or twice a year, which is a training course on how to create your own training course. But she is moving people into her funnel very slowly and warming them up, getting them to know her personal brand. And over time, you start to feel like Amy Porterfield personally, and then when she wants to sell you something, lo and behold, you're happy to fork out a couple of grand to tap into her knowledge. So that's a really typical funnel. We see a lot of these funnels around. They work super, super well. They can sometimes feel a little bit frustrating, but I think if they're done really well, and when they're done really well, it's when the value that you give to the person is really genuine. So this is a 3-part training series that I can hear my son crying. Sorry, it's distracting me a little bit. This training series is legitimately a really good piece of value that she's given. So she's really thought about, what does her target persona really want and need, and how can she really move the needle for them, give them a transformation that's going to make them feel really good about working with her in future and potentially spending money with her. But she's not trying to get people to spend money with her straight away. So it's that first date, or that first initial introduction on the dating app, where she's just saying, let's have a little chat. And then she's like, well, maybe we'll go for coffee. And here you are going for coffee, and there's nothing daunting about that you're being sold first. So that's a typical nurture funnel. And why these work, because people buy from people they trust, and you're not going to spend her products are like $2 or $3 grand, so you're not going to just suddenly see an ad on Facebook, go to a landing page and spend $3,000. Like, no one in their right mind would do that. So these ads don't point to a landing page where she's selling her course straight away. The only time you'll see that is if the course is really cheap, like it's £50. And if it's a £50 course, guaranteed that person who's selling you that course is not making money on that course. They're selling you that course so that you can get to know them, so that you'll begin to know, like, and trust them, and so that they can have your details, and so that they can then upsell you something bigger and better later on. It follows the principle of giving value first. And I think to do this kind of marketing really well, you have to really understand your audience super well. So I had a client who wanted to do a sort of lead magnet funnel like this. They target parents who have kind of, who want to send their kids on a coding camp. But they developed this like lead magnet that I didn't think it was of any value to the parent. It didn't solve a parent's problem. It wasn't something that a parent would be dying to like download and couldn't wait to like get into their hands. It was just something that was kind of quite self-serving for the brand. It was sort of a brochure of them talking about stuff that they wanted to sell to the parent. So it didn't do very well. Our cost per lead was quite high. The follow-up from it wasn't very good. Whereas if they produced a resource that parents are just like dying for, then they would have created a really great relationship with the parents, and then they're in a really great position to sell to them with further ads or further advertising. So I think it's really all good digital, all good advertising or marketing comes down to with really understanding your audience and what they need. And then when you're designing a funnel like this for your service-based business, thinking about what value can you offer up front that will attract the right kind of prospect, that will make them really feel excited about working with you, but that won't scare them off by selling to them too soon. And you should expect many touch points prior to purchase. And especially the higher price point your product, the longer this funnel is going to have to be. You might have a lot of touch points along the way. The call booking funnel is a little bit more direct. So this can work for service-based businesses. So this is where you would go from an ad that talks about, maybe it's a case study about the type of transformation you're going to achieve for the prospect by having them sign up for your whatever your offer is, or whatever your offering is. And then if that's really super convincing, and then your landing page is really super convincing, you can go straight in and get people to book a call, like a calendar call in your Calendly that books straight through. I would say the only time that these sorts of funnels work is if your offer is so amazing that people just think, wow, I don't want to miss out on this. This business really understands my business. It's such a good fit for me that I don't want to pass this up in case I never come across them again. And like, oh my gosh, there's no other business out there that's going to serve me better. So in an example of like my agency caters to a very certain type of client. And so if I was to do a call booking funnel like this, and they work quite well for agencies, these funnels, I would be building up my page to explain to my potential prospect how well I understand their particular business and how niched I am and how perfect I am for them. And then I'd be talking about probably a few case studies of the kind of results I've achieved for businesses exactly like them, to convince them that I'm going to be able to achieve those results for them. And so that they feel like they've found a needle in a haystack, they've found the perfect fit for them, and actually this is going to drive them forward, and I'm going to take the risk of booking a call straight away. But it's a pretty hard ask to get someone to book a call with you. So it has to be a really, really strong, very well matched offer. And generally, I think these work best when you are able to prove that you're going to make someone a lot of money. So if you had, like, for instance, an IT business and you were going to, take their IT headaches away, the chances of them booking a call straight off the bat from that landing page are pretty low, because it's not exciting enough to kind of get them going to like get their phone out, figure out when they're going to meet you, kind of look at it like, okay, I can do it on this date. They're probably going to be like, yeah, that's kind of interesting, but I'm going to come back to that. So for an IT business where it's a little bit less mission critical, a little bit more generic, I would probably say lead with some kind of lead magnet that's going to help them make their life easier. And then once you've got that lead, you've got their details, then you can warm them up with more and more information about why your business is so great. And then eventually they might consider booking a call with you once you've warmed them up a bit more. So those direct to call funnels can definitely work, but I think you need to look closely at your business and figure out whether your offer is going to be strong enough for someone to like really take that action straight off the bat, off the very first ad. And it's probably quite unlikely that they would. With these funnels, sometimes you can start with maybe a video at the top, and then you're driving people to, once they've warmed up with the video, then you're driving them through to a page that then suggests to them that they book a call with you. So if at first the funnel doesn't succeed, oftentimes you have to extend it out and add some more stages along the funnel in order to get people to take action. So yeah, there's a few options there. So those are the kind of core types of funnels that you would think about for a service-based business. Does anyone have any questions on those? No?
I do. I'm not sure if you can see me right now. I just wondered, when people set up these emails and stuff, and all the automatic emails and that, do people actually read them? Or what's the best way to get people to read them?
Yeah, no, they do. Email.
Like, I know a lot in my inbox I sometimes bypass.
Yeah, me too. And it depends on the person, right? So like some people buy really well off video. Some people buy really well off email. Some people buy really well off, watching a whole big long thing on YouTube. Like there's different types of people out there that will respond to different things, but email is still hands down the most like incredible channel. And to make these kind of service-based funnels work without email is pretty tricky. It can be done. So I've spent a significant amount of money through some of these funnels, but I've had multiple touch points that aren't email, because I'm just one of these people, I get overwhelmed by all the emails I get and they just all go into my tab and I just don't look at them. But I mean, for instance, I spent a lot of money with an accelerator, which was one of the most amazing things I'd ever done, but an accelerator for agency owners. And, the cost of the program was in the mid many thousands. And I was in that funnel for a really long time. I was watching content from the person who runs it. I would turn up to all her webinars. I was in her free Facebook group. I was like, scouring the sales pages, looking at like the reviews. I was doing online research of it. And then I would stop thinking about it for a while. And then, and then lo and behold, another new ad would pop up. And eventually I did sign up and do it. But for that kind of big, high consideration purchase, that's going to make a huge difference to your life and to your business, it does require multiple touch points. And that's where these platforms are really effective at like reaching people throughout that journey with very clever targeting based on their behavior so far. So yeah, email is one of the things that you would have to have in there, but it might not be that, not all your prospects would close through email.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Okay. Yeah. Has anyone, so looking at these types of funnels, do you all kind of recognize having been in some of them yourselves? Yeah. And what springs to mind? Does anyone kind of think, oh, like this would really work for my business, or it's not right for me, or does it kind of get any ideas flowing? Yeah. So for you, Tiffany, like what would appeal to you? Like a lead magnet video series, webinar?
Yeah, I think, I've sort of been thinking about them, but haven't sort of put anything into action yet. But definitely the videos, even like little taster videos I've been thinking about, and some you just sort of triggered some sort of different ideas instead of sort of giving away, a lot of things, or 5 tips. Maybe you sort of do one and have lots of short videos, or I think webinars and those sort of course things would be good for my business as well.
Yeah. And I think the key thing to think about when you're designing this funnel, and like we'll get into the platforms and how they all work in a second, but when you're designing your funnel, you have to think about at every step, the people that you're attracting into it need to be the right fit for your business. So if you're, for instance, like what's a good example? Like if I had a funnel for my agency, and this actually happened to a friend of mine, she set up a funnel for her agency. It was the book a call funnel. But what she had, a case study on the landing page, which was like how I grew this e-commerce business. We grew this e-commerce business to like 20K a month sales from only £500 of spend or something like this. And what she got into her funnel was all these people who only had £500 to spend. So it's like incredible. Like Facebook is so good at finding, once the data is set up and the tracking, and I'll talk about that, it optimizes for the people that are responding, right? So if you're creative in your copy and what you're saying to people attracts a certain type of person into your funnel, then Facebook's going to find more and more people like that. And if you've gone a little bit awry and you haven't actually built that section of the funnel for the right type of person, you're just going to end up with the wrong people. So, oh yes, it's converting and I'm getting like loads of calls booked, but actually every person that's booking has only got £500 to spend. So she had to then go back and rewrite her landing page and her case study to make it more about like, we help scaling businesses who are spending 20K plus a month to grow their e-commerce sales to like 500K a year or something. So that she was then pushing the right buttons for the right type of people to come into her funnel. And it's an incredible thing how precise Facebook is at finding people who perfectly match, and how good the ad and the landing page can be at filtering those people. But it's a really important thing to bear in mind. Like, you could create a lead magnet that was really great and loads of people downloaded it, but if it wasn't the type of people that are a really great fit for you, then it's no use. You've got an email list with like tens of thousands of people on it, but none of them are ever going to buy from you. So you're better off having a lead magnet that's only downloaded by a few hundred people, but they're your exact dream target customer because you've designed it exactly for them. That's going to work so much better.
Okay, cool. That's great.
So that's, something to really think about when you're designing your funnel. Really make sure you understand your persona, your niche really well, and figure that out first. And then you use that to design the creative, the landing page, and then also the targeting as well. So, okay, so let's imagine that you've kind of figured out what your funnel is. Well, where's the best place to advertise it then? And the channels that I would recommend, and look, there's no hard and fast rules here. Oh, I'll make this play from current side. There's no hard and fast rules. Every business is different. And, you know, every now and again, there comes along a product business that can advertise on LinkedIn and just absolutely smash it. But I would say there's generally, like, you can generally follow a hunch with these things that certain channels will work better than others for certain types of businesses. So I would say these kind of lead ads for service-based businesses work best on these channels. I haven't got Twitter here. I feel like I've maybe done Twitter a little bit of a disservice, and maybe need to give Twitter a bit more of a chance. So we could probably put Twitter on this page as well, because for service-based businesses, it indeed is a valid platform. So I would say, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook are all really good for service-based businesses. And actually, I don't know, I think I might have accidentally deleted the logo off, but Facebook, when I talk about Facebook, we include Instagram in that family as well. And Instagram is also a great place for service-based businesses. So definitely don't have that mindset that like, oh, I'm an insurance company, or I'm in a real B2B industry, therefore like Instagram and Facebook are the wrong place for me. The question you need to ask yourself is, are the people who would buy from me on these platforms? And if the answer is yes, then there's a good chance that those platforms will work really well for you. And then just talking about how it sort of works for each of them. The same rules apply. Google will only work for demand capture, so the yellow pages, keyword based. Google Shopping ads I've kicked off this slide as well, because Google Shopping doesn't work at all for service-based businesses, only for product-based businesses. So again, you could definitely try out Google depending on how many people are actually looking for your service specifically. It may well be that Google is a good platform for you if you have something very niche, and it will allow you to capture those people who are looking exactly for what you offer, but it may not be something that's very scalable. Whereas the other platforms are a great place to kind of fish for people that may not have even realized that they need your service. You know, the agency accelerator that I joined, I wouldn't have even known that thing existed. But it was when this great content kept coming into my feed that I kept interacting with, and that was helping me. that I realized that there was this whole thing available that I hadn't even known existed. So Google definitely has its place for these types of funnels, but depending on how niche you are and the type of business you are, there may not be a lot of scalability to it. And then the social channels are really great for these kind of ads. So again, it's like I said, demand generation. Again, it works the same way. All of these platforms work the same way, in the sense of more or less the same way, in the sense that you can target people based on interests. You can target people based on what they're searching for. So YouTube is more of a search engine, whereas LinkedIn and Facebook are more based on, so Facebook, you can put everything under the sun, from brands they follow, interests, job titles, demographics, life stage, the types of, their shopping and buying behavior. LinkedIn is a little bit more limited. LinkedIn, you can choose job titles, location, seniority, industry sector, very much like you're able to kind of profile based on their kind of job information rather than their generalized interests. And Facebook, you can sort of do both. So Facebook's a lot more flexible in that sense. I would say Facebook's optimization options are much stronger. So Facebook just has a much smarter algorithm at figuring out who's most likely to behave in the way that you want your prospects to behave. Generally, LinkedIn is a little bit more expensive, although interestingly, when you advertise on Facebook to a very specific B2B niche, you'll find the costs of reaching that niche are quite expensive anyway. So again, it's one to test. I'm probably a little bit biased in that if I was a service provider, well, I am a service provider, if I was to advertise, I would go to Facebook and Instagram first. I believe that the algorithm just is much cleverer at finding people. And then I would, once I'd perfected that funnel, I would then go to LinkedIn and see if I could make that same funnel work on LinkedIn in the same way, or I might need to tweak it a little bit. YouTube's a really interesting one for service-based businesses. There's a lot of opportunity there. The platform's getting much, much smarter at optimization. They also have a lot of data about people. YouTube's quite slightly different. So you can target based on what people are searching for, or you can place your ads on other people's channels. So if you, for instance, me, I'm an agency owner, I could like outline a whole bunch of YouTube channels that my particular customers, so owners of e-commerce businesses, what channels are they likely to be watching and spending time on? And I could place my pre-roll advertising on those videos of those people. I can even put pre-roll advertising on competitors, as long as those competitors have opted in to receive ad revenues. So the setting up is a little bit different for LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, but all of them allow you this opportunity to optimize for the thing that you want to happen. So going back to that funnel, if we've got this call booking funnel, there's going to be a button here where you click to book a call with someone. And then there's going to be a kind of success page when the call is successfully booked. That's the optimization event that you're going to optimize for. So when you set up your campaigns on all of these platforms, you're going to tell the platform what do you want, what's the goal of the campaign, and the goal is a conversion. And the conversion event is when someone successfully completes the action. And then you set it up for the algorithm to optimize and find more people similar to the people who are carrying out that action. And you're measuring your campaign based on your cost per action. How much is a lead costing me? And prior to even setting this up, you need to have done your maths really and understand, well, what is a call booked worth to me? So in the case of like these agency funnels, and I've been taught a lot about these because as part of my accelerator, we were kind of shown how to run these agency funnels, and the average cost per successfully booked call in terms of the ad cost is about £100, which sounds like a lot of money, and then the person doesn't turn up and you've blown £100 on this person not turning up, or it takes you a while to optimize the funnel and at first it costs you £300 per booked call. But what you've got to remember is although that sounds like a lot of money, a prospect to me, if they sign up and stay with me for a year, that's worth £15,000 to me. So paying £100 to get them to get on the phone with me, and then say 1 in 3 of them I managed to convince to become a customer. So that's cost me £300 to acquire a customer who's going to be worth 15K to me. So there's it's important to understand the maths before you kind of freak out about £100 per call, and to know your benchmarks as well. And it's worth talking to people in your industry and finding out what the benchmark is for the webinar funnel. A funnel like this, where you're getting someone to opt in to sign up to kind of receive some kind of video content or come and watch a webinar, typical cost for that is about £10 per seat. So whenever you sign up to one of these funnels and you agree to go to one of these webinars, Amy Porterfield or whoever else it is has paid £10 to get you there. And she's willing to do that because you're worth £10 to her. You attending that webinar is worth £10 to her, because maybe 1 in 10 people sign up to do the next thing, and another 1 in 10 sign up to do the next thing. And on average, she makes $3,000 for everyone that reaches the end of her kind of entire funnel. So the prices are set by the market. It's not Facebook saying, I'm going to set this price, arbitrarily. They're based on the competition on the platform and how much people are willing to pay. It's all auction based. So the costs of that, because the people who are advertising and making money, spending that money to get people into their funnels. So yeah, don't balk at the costs initially, but have a real understanding of what that prospect might be worth to you before you design your funnel, and then before you enter into it. Don't enter into it with like £5 to spend and then hope you're going to suddenly land a 15k client like within a couple of days. So that is a quick summary of the kind of main kinds of funnels for service-based businesses and product-based businesses, and then the main platforms that work best for them and how you use them. We've still got about 10 minutes where we can chat through any questions that people have, or equally we could go through and look at some ad examples from these types of funnels if that's interesting to people. Questions? I mean, feel free to get nitty-gritty technical with me too if you want to, or you want to go through like the types of ads on each of the platforms, that kind of thing.
I was wondering, Jessie, if you know much about, or you've used much, or anyone else for that matter, the boosting, when you put a post on like Facebook or Instagram, then it will ask you if you want to boost it. And I don't actually even know if that costs anything, but I've sort of still working out my perfect prospect. So I have just left that for now until I know who I really want to target. But
yeah,
do you think
so
that's good?
Boosting is paid for. It's just a super easy way to pay money to Facebook to show your post to more people. It's not going to be targeted in any way to a particular type of person. It's not going to be optimized for any kind of event, like as in any kind of conversion that you want to achieve. It's just going to show your post to people, random people. And in my view, it's probably going to show your post to people that Facebook hasn't had much luck monetizing in other ways. So Facebook has a finite number of people, Facebook and Instagram have a finite number of people who are there, using the platform. Some of those people buy stuff. Some of those people never buy stuff. Some of those people sign up for webinars. Some of those people never sign up for webinars. Some of those people love clicking on stuff and watching videos, but never buy stuff. So Facebook knows this about all the different types of people on the platform. And when I run a campaign for a client that's selling a product, then it shows the ads to people who often buy products, and especially people who often buy products of that type of product. But when you push boost, you haven't told Facebook anything about what you want. So it's just going to try and get rid of traffic that isn't valuable to other people. It's going to try and get eyeballs on your post. So I would say the only reason I would do it is if you're really early in your business and you want to have, you need to kind of improve your shop window in terms of like those, what we would sort of call vanity metrics, like the number of people who like you, the number of people who interact with your post. If you want those metrics to look a little bit better, just to grow your credibility, so your shop window looks a bit shinier and more credible, then boost. But it's not going to drive any kind of tangible action from the right people, not in a trackable way anyway. Does that kind of answer?
Yeah, that was great, thanks. It's really clear. So yeah, it could be beneficial for like more followers, but not necessarily for sales as such.
Exactly. Yeah. So Facebook will show it to people who kind of click on stuff and follow stuff, those types of people, not to people who are your ideal customer, because you haven't told Facebook who that is, and it's got no way of knowing.
Okay.
Can I ask a question on that? Because I have used the Boost before, and it did allow me it was a while back though, and it did allow me to choose audiences. Has that changed?
Oh yeah. So if you're just pushing Boost, it's just going to go out to whatever. But yeah, you can select audiences. But again, like a boosted post can't have a conversion objective. So
Right. Okay.
It will be a broad church of like people who broadly match that audience. But within that audience, it's not picking the ones who are like likely to take an action.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Cool. Any other questions?
I've got one, because I'm about to do an advertising campaign and using video and stuff, and we are going to do A/B testing through either driving it straight, because we're going to be trying to drive either straight. It's more a journey test really with A/B testing, to drive straight to the Facebook page to get people to sign up to the community, because we're trying to drive community engagement to the Facebook group, and either drive it that way or drive it through the website. And we're going to try and figure out which is the better way to do it, because obviously with the website there's other things that they can go and have a look at, and the content's going to be exactly the same. But my question is around, how much testing do you do until you decide that you don't have to do any more? Like, when do you stop testing, or do you just keep testing?
You'll always be testing. I mean, for an example, because everything's always changing. So for both, I've got one client who sells an online course, and then I've got a lot of clients that sell products online. So we are like running these campaigns on a retainer basis every month. We're spending money and we're doing it, but we're always testing. So we're always testing audiences, we're always testing we're testing ad copy, and performance will be stable for a while, and then it'll start to go down. And so we know then, okay, we've got to put some new creative in there, we've got to put some new copy in there.
So that's not then testing, is it? That's just new creative. So my brain is like, I don't have to keep testing, do I? I just change it and do a new campaign and a new idea and a new
I suppose
thing.
The way the platforms work is that like you're always testing a few different elements at the same time. So even though so we're like we're maybe this week we're like, okay, we need to refresh the creative for this particular client. What are we going to test in this refresh? So we might test one ad that's blue, one ad that's green, and one ad that's like video or whatever. And we're putting all three of those in there and allowing Facebook to figure out which one's the best one. So, but if you're launching a brand new funnel, then you're definitely going to be doing a lot more testing, and you're going to kind of write down a whole bunch of hypotheses and say, okay, we're going to test these audiences for this long. Once we've got the best audience, we're going to test these 3 ads. And after we've tested them for this long, we're going to put another ad. And you're kind of doing it test upon test upon test until you're finding the best formula for you. Like they're sending them to the site is better than sending them to the group or whatever. By the way, you can't send traffic directly to a group. You'd have to send them to a landing page where you told them about the group and then through to the group. Yeah.
How can you not send them straight to the group?
No, not from
How come?
It's just against terms of service.
Is it?
Yeah.
So where do you send them instead then?
So people, you've probably seen like group challenge, like people you can sign up for like a 5-day challenge in a pop-up group.
Definitely not doing that.
So it worked really well, by the way.
No, it's not that. That is so not the FTSQ way of doing things. That is just so not.
Right.
Yeah, I've already had that conversation and it's just not happening.
But if you were sending people to a group, so you wanted to send people to a group, you would send them to a landing page, i.e. on your domain, which might say like, tell them all about why they would sign up for the group. And then have the button that then directs people to the group. But the ad itself can't have as the destination URL a group.
Oh, so it's going to have to go to okay, so that's not even a A/B testing thing anyway. We're going to have to send it to the website.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's easily fixed then.
All about the group. I'm pretty sure you can have a link to the group on the landing page. You might need to check that. what some people do, I've seen, is the landing page is where they sign up their email address, and then the email emails them about the group.
Oh, you can definitely have a link on the group, because that's already on the website. You can already do that on the website.
You've already got a link to the group on your website. Yeah, so I've got a question in my mind. Feel free to email me afterwards. I've got a question in my mind about whether the group can be linked on the landing page itself, or whether you might have to like have something happen on the landing page and then send them to another page. Maybe I need to check that. Facebook's terms of service are crazy stringent, and like they'll just cancel and ban your account, and you can never get back in.
That's interesting. I didn't even know that was a thing. Okay, thank you for that. I'll talk to you about that afterwards. Thank you.
No worries. Feel free.
You've just completely scuppered my whole everything.
Oh.
No, good, in a good way.
Yeah.
No, you've just saved me from messing up big time.
Yeah, good to know now, Lena, than
Yeah, I'd much rather know now than have messed up. You've just saved my life. Thank you.
Wow, imagine service. Anyone else got questions on particular kind of techie stuff like that about particular platforms? Really, none?
Mine's a little bit different. I'm just thinking at the moment, I've just been writing down, you've really made me underline the bit about like who I want and making sure that I'm focusing on the right sort of people that are coming in.
Yeah.
Any advice on pivoting from like a really lovely base of word of mouth and networking so far to thinking about how I make that a bit bigger and broader? Any tips on how you translate that really?
Yeah, so I think, so do you, amongst those kind of, because often a referral based business will be a little bit of like, you know, different types of people will end up getting referred to you, because it's like, John knows Mary, and John and Mary don't have the same kind of business, but John really liked you, so he told Mary about you. So within those businesses that you've been working with, like, are there any particular ones that stand out where you've had really great results, or you've really enjoyed working on it, and you've got some really good case studies?
Yeah, so I've been kind of thinking about that in terms of the different, like some are word of mouth from friends, some are people that I previously worked with that want to kind of connect in that space, and others are people that I've met through kind of digital networking. But they're all so far relatively like only one or two chains away from me directly. Yeah.
So is there a certain profile of person that you've really had great results and really enjoyed, and like would be able to talk with like real confidence that that's a good type of business that you'd want to work with, or a good type of entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think I've got a few in mind, thinking about just looking at the list in front of me. And then kind of expand out from that.
So or maybe not expand out, but niche in.
Okay.
Thinking, so for instance, my business, you know, first of all, I was like a digital marketing expert, and then I started working with some really cool product businesses, and I was like, okay, well, now we are focused on e-commerce only. That's our niche. And then within e-commerce, we started to niche more towards, we noticed that there was a pattern of like that these were direct to consumer e-commerce businesses, as opposed to like, you know, John Lewis or whatever, who stock a whole lot of different brands and sell in shops and that kind of thing. So direct to consumer. Then within that, we were like, actually, we're female centric direct to consumer businesses. And now we're that niche. I cannot tell you how much easier it is to sell, because whenever a lot of people who fit that niche, whenever I meet someone like that, whenever I'm selling to them, I can say, this is what we do. We know it so well. We understand you. But one of the most amazing quotes I heard recently was people don't buy from you because they understand you and your business. They buy from you because you understand them. So if you're able to talk to them with examples that are like exactly like them, and they have so much confidence that you understand them, their business, you can replicate the same thing again. Not all businesses need to niche, but I'm a huge fan of it myself. It's allowed me to scale because I've been able to create a system that's replicable over and over and over. And it means that it's not just me that has to do it. So I've got a team who can follow those same processes and do that. But again, about that understanding that person so well, like a really great sales page. So maybe they've gone through this whole funnel, or even if it's a sales page just to get people to sign up for the webinar, it should speak all about their pain points, all about their daily life and how you solve that. And if you're trying to be everything to everyone, then it's just not going to speak to anyone.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
is the best way of describing niching that I haven't bristled and thought, oh, at that I've heard. Thank you.
No worries. Anyone else got questions, discussion?
I have a question more on the organic space. So, for example, if you have a closed Facebook group of, say, 2,500 people or members, and you want to post something, what percentage of those members actually see it on the day that you post it?
So are you saying this is someone else's group or this is your group?
Let's say it's the Businesswomen's Network group, for an example.
Okay, so I don't actually know in terms of the number of people that see a post that you make in a large group will totally depend on that group's like behind the scenes like optimization. So I don't know a huge amount about group optimization. There's certainly bigger experts than me, but it'll be a case of, so I'm in a bunch of groups on Facebook, right? But there's some I interact with a lot and some I don't interact with much. And I get notifications about the groups that I'm interacting in a lot. Or if the people commenting on a particular post within a group are people that have like commented on posts that I've commented on before. Like there'll be
right.
stuff going
So
on.
it feeds off your usage pattern.
Exactly. And so if you comment on make a post in a group and it gets a lot of people commenting, then that's also going to be a signal to Facebook that that's an interesting post. So it's going to show people within the group. So the more you can get people, if your post has got a lot of, invites people to debate things and contribute and discuss, then you're going to get more visibility from that.
Yeah.
You just posted like, I'm great.
Okay, so it's all about creating a post that's going to generate engagement.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries. Anyone else? Sure. Well, we're at time, so feel free to message me. What's the best way to reach me? LinkedIn, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. If you search for Jessie Healy, it should come up, I think, because I'm connected to a lot of people here. And my Facebook group is, I think we'll probably have to email that one to you guys. It's Facebook. It's Facebook ads for Instagram and, oh God, what is it? Instagram and Facebook ads for e-commerce founders is what it's called. God, I need to learn the name, don't I? Yeah. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much.
Keep in touch. Add me on LinkedIn. I'd love to chat to you all and ask me questions. Feel free to private message me if you've got questions that come up after this. I'm open book. Happy to help.
This has been recorded and being shared, isn't it?
Thanks, Jessie. That was awesome.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Speak to you later.
Thank you. It was amazing.
Oh,
Very
thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Jessie. Bye, everyone.